A frenzied run, a heart beating in his chest as if he wanted to get out. In his ears there was a throbbing, not only from the beating blood, but from shots from every direction. He was barely breathing. No, he couldn't catch his breath anymore. He couldn't swallow his saliva. His legs seemed to be made of lead. He could barely move them, but he had to run. He had to. With his eyes closed, he ran on. Everything hurt him. He wanted to stop running so badly. He heard screams. Frightening screams that no human being should ever make. And other sounds. Voices. Whispers. Whispers and whispers. He heard them all around and in his own head. In shadows and walls. They whispered to him and shouted together. His teeth hurt. They hurt so much, he felt them. For the first time in his life, he felt all the teeth. Blood flowed from his nose. It was getting dark in his eyes, but he kept running. He turned around painfully. His elbow exploded with pain. When he got up, he saw the evacuation exit. It was so close. Pulling out his hand, he pressed the lever. The land is his salvation. The only salvation. He will escape. He will survive. Only when the doors opened, he fell to the ground. He looked at the literal apocalypse. A furious crowd tried to break through the thin line of soldiers on the land. A new wave grew behind the sea of people, infected. They came across screaming, begging and crying people. A swarm of flies, large disgusting insects that almost covered the entire sky. Among this crowd, there were strange, curved creatures, much taller than people. They were ringing bells. They were beating them, and the crowd was falling into a larger and larger amok. They seemed semi-material. They appeared and disappeared like dancing shadows by the fire. But the more people fell to the ground, the more real they become. A sour, burning rain fell from the clouds. Each exposed fragment of the body was burning with a living fire. Then the order fell. Fire! A thin line of soldiers, militiamen and sailors opened fire both on the infected and on the healthy looking for shelter. They were shooting at everyone. Tears flowed from his eyes when he saw more falling bodies from both sides of the crowd. Thousands of people, shuddering between soldiers and infected monsters. The barrels of guns were already hot from the shots. The soldiers were screaming in fear. Then the infected crowd fell into them. The victims of the plague were the curved wagons, bubbles, sputum and open wounds from which flies were flying out and larvae were falling out. A thin line of soldiers broke in a matter of minutes. Beasts and small, laughable monsters ate them, and the infected, with their own nails and teeth, tore the bodies apart. Commissar Caroline was walking on the runway, and her sharp, energetic body was dripping with blood. The body was rumbling and kicking like mad. Her feet had a dozen or so bodies on them, and more were coming. Her once beautiful, green shawl was now in shambles. Her broken left hand was hanging from the side, while she was fighting with the others, clenching her teeth. She was calling out to the other fighters. She was groaning like a wild goddess of war, with a terrible, curved lump of hatred and disgust on her face. Only a moment later, she realized that she was alone, surrounded by a sea of horror. The infected were retreating, and the beasts, big and small, were approaching her from every direction. With a sign of resignation on her face, she straightened up for the last time. Once again, she raised her blades, covering the shoals with a thin layer of blue energy. And she bent her wrists. She took a Shermir's stance. She will die as a commissar. She will not beg for mercy. He heard a terrifying laugh, echoing and spreading. A crowd, like a sea, split in two, and there was something going on. Huge. It was something growling, ringing a great bell. It was pulling its own intestines and organs, like a pelican collecting dirt from the ground. The commissar closed her eyes. She held her breath. Her whole body was covered with angry insects devouring her skin. She didn't even tremble. It resembled a huge, swollen, gigantic child with many faces and mouths. A long horn was growing from the top of her head. She stood there, a lonely figure. In the past, everyone would be afraid of her, a stern commissar from the Last Hope military school. Now, she seemed so tiny, so weak. She was waiting. When something was within her reach, she jumped forward without warning, not even letting herself be recognized. Like a snake, she struck something's chest, stabbing her blade deep into the beast's heart. A laugh. It was something laughing, while mud were pouring out of her broken heart. Before she could move anyway, a huge child's hand grabbed her, breaking her ribs, raising her head high like a toy. It was something laughing, and the horde of creatures was going mad. The infected were falling on their knees, raising their prayers. The belly of the creature was breaking, and the huge mass appeared in the place of the wound. With a groan, it put the dying commissar inside, licking her with a licking sound. He felt as if he was about to vomit. He didn't have the courage to get out of his hiding place. He looked at it like a rat from a hiding place. Tears flowed from his eyes. He wanted it to be over so badly. Something was pulling him by the pants.